a massive drop of the ball from Martin O'Neill and Celtic. A shocker, a real shocker. Just give your reaction to yesterday's 5-1 loss in Austria for Celtic.
Well, the bottom line was it was embarrassing. It shouldn't be happening. I mean, for a team of Celtic's quality and calibre to be up 4-0 in the second leg, they should have more than enough quality to see it out. People are talking about the squad's not strong enough. But you're up 4-0 in the games. They've got enough quality to go 4-0 up. They should have enough quality to see that game out. And it's just, if you're a Celtic fan tonight, it's not acceptable. Yep, they'll point the fingers at the board for not investing, etc. I get that. They probably should have invested more. But so, I mean, the blame has also got to go to the manager and the coaching team. I mean, the fact is that you're 4-0 up, you lose a goal, but you can still close the game out. The fact is they were wide open, you know what I mean? Yeah, and it goes to, I mean, Martin O'Neill held his hands up last night. I think he has to, because to be in that position, it's not the board's fault when you're 4-0 up and then you end up losing 5-4. The can stops with the manager and the players who just haven't produced on the night. And they had one foot in the Champions League, and to not get in it, it's just, it's hard to put into words. I mean, if you're a Celtic fan tonight, you'd be absolutely livid. I mean, they've had a few low points in Europe, but this is a real low one because, I mean, LASK are a good team, right? Austrian champions. But they're Austrian champions. It's not as if they were playing one of the big guns in Europe. They should have more than enough to see that off. And the manner of it and the goals they lost, it was shocking. You know what I mean? It didn't look like a team who were playing at Champions League level, put it that way anyway. They were well short.
Yeah. We're not big in the old going stat heavy on this show, Scott, but there was one number that just stuck out to me. LASK had 49% possession. They had 41 attempts on goal last night. 41. When you think about that, it just unbelievable. And they outperformed the expected goals as well, which says one thing about Celtic's defending.
Yeah. I mean, the point is, Celtic were in a great position after the first leg. I mean, 3-0 after the first leg. But in fairness, I don't think that result actually told the whole story because, I mean, LASK were really good. They had a couple of efforts that were chopped off or offside. They were dangerous. It caused a lot of problems. So 3-0 probably flattered Celtic a little bit. But then when they go 4-0 up, you know what I mean, last night you're thinking, surely they get this tie done now. But I was like, I was just arriving in Germany last night and I was looking at my phone and you've seen it. It was like 1-0 Celtic, about 1-8. And it went up 2-1, 3-1. You know what I mean? So it just continued. And then when you're thinking, if this goes level, then it was back in the melting pot. And at that point, the momentum's all with LASK, you know what I mean? So Celtic were always up against it when it's going like that, but to actually lose it in that way, it really is, it's a hammer blow. And I think it'll take some time for some of them Celtic players to recover from that, even if they do. And I know I've been on obviously social media, there's some individual players who are obviously taking it in the neck for last night, you know what I mean? And it'll be hard for some of them players to come back.
Yeah, of course. So, the result on its own is, it can really do a number on a player's mentality, and we've been talking about mentality quite a lot when it comes to both sides of Glasgow, but wow, that left a mark. And you look at the reaction from some players, the reaction in particular to Luke McCowan. We never want to see players being hounded in the personal way. I think he's maybe found it. He's deleted his social media. But statements saying that Celtic didn't have the depth they needed on that bench. You are our transfer guru. Should Celtic have got more business done, or stalled some business before this tie was done and dusted?
I think they should have definitely got some business done. They had a few deals lined up, and it was in the proviso that they made the Champions League. Nikos Sigior of Hajduk Split was one of them, but that now, I'm told, is now dead. I don't think they'll have the finances to go and do that deal. So there'll be other deals that will probably fall by the wayside as well because of they've not got the Champions League money. It also depends if they can sell players before then as well, because Rio Hatate, everyone knows, wants to leave, but bid needs to come in for him at a suitable level. And for him, he wants to go to a top 5 league. So, I mean, Celtic could still sell players and still invest in this window. I mean, they've got funds in the bank. They shouldn't need to sell first of all anyway. But obviously, the Champions League is massive for them in terms of boosting the finances, and they've not got that now. Now it's Europa League, and that's a big difference. And in terms of, if you look at it in terms of football as well, some players might say that they might have signed for the Champions League, but they might not go there for Europa League football. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's a big issue that Celtic are now facing in the final week of the transfer window.
Yeah, and when you look at it as well, you look the kind of everyone's talking about the money side of things, and I totally get that. That obviously affects transfers, affects what the club does that season. But for me, and again, we've mentioned this before on the show. There's the prestige aspect to that as well. Are we not looking? It's an anniversary of the Lisbon Lions, and Celtic have just been embarrassed on the competition they won. It's. It's something else. We just did not expect that kind of result coming in for Celtic.
I mean, you've seen some of obviously the people text in there. I mean, somebody said earlier on that this is all on the players. And as I said to you earlier, it's on the players on that pitch. It's also on the management team. And I mean, people can blame the board, and it goes back to, the club not being in a strong enough position over recent seasons. But they're still winning leagues, etc. But the players and the manager should have had enough quality to see that game out last night. And there's just no excuse for it. I mean, I think somebody else has just said Celtic need quality players across the field. Yeah, they need to strengthen across the field. Before this game last night, you'd have thought Celtic looked quite good. They'd obviously started the season quite well really strongly domestically. Duran and Casper Hogg had made an instant impact. They looked very good. But this is the first bump in the road. But oh my, it's not a bump in the road, but in terms of the Champions League road, it's taking them right off the road. You know what I mean? So look, Celtic have still got the basis of team there, but they still need to strengthen in certain areas. And if they don't do that, then they'll probably leave themselves wide open domestically. And
Yeah,
in terms of progressing in the Europa League as well.
yeah, of course. I think the Celtic hierarchy, you kind of, as we were saying, you don't necessarily put it on the board here, but I think the reaction from the board, the reaction from Celtic now, however upset they may be, is going to be absolutely crucial in the lead up to and the mood around Celtic Park for this season. Because wow, if they let themselves slip anymore, they'll feel the wrath. Scotty, just before you head off, obviously we're talking about Celtic's transfers around Scotland. Have you any new transfers coming in for us? Obviously, we're heading into the last wee week now.
Well, obviously, there's we broke the story about Rangers being in for Kevin Kelsey. Reports in America say that deal's just about done. Rangers have pulled back a wee bit, saying it's not quite as advanced as that, but I think all sides are quite confident that that'll be the striker that Rangers are looking to bring in, and over the coming days it'll probably happen. And then there's another one I'll just throw another one, an interesting one for Dundee United and Falkirk fans here, is that my understanding is that Dundee United have tabled a six-figure bid for the Falkirk midfielder Brad Spencer.
Oh, wow.
So I believe that's the third bid they've made for the midfielder. So it'll be interesting to see what develops on that front, whether Falkirk decide to sell or to agree a fee with Dundee United. But that's just hot off the press just now. So but wait and see how that one progresses and what else happens.
Yeah, of course. And just before I let you go, we saw a mental result. Do you think that Motherwell can pull off the impossible and get a result against the Europa League finalists tonight?
Europa League finalists.
Yeah.
And they were beaten by Aston Villa, they've got John McGinn. And Motherwell obviously at Paul McGinn, but sadly he's injured, so we can't use that one. I would love to see Motherwell overturn it. I'd love to see Motherwell progress. Love to see all the Scottish clubs progress. Hearts, Rangers, Hibs, you know what I mean? And then Celtic and Europa League. Love to see them all progress for the sake of the coefficient. But I just think it might be a bridge too far against a top quality team. Look, if Motherwell can go out there, give it a good shot, get a decent result, and if don't get a good decent result, then give it a good go. That's all you can ask for.